It's 2009. I'm holding the first book of what I know is an amazing trilogy. I'm determined, no, committed to reading them in order like a proper literary citizen. Fast forward to 2025 and I'm still waiting for book 2 while book 3 sits on my shelf, mocking me with its infinite patience.
How dare you!
Sometimes life doesn't go according to plan, folks. Sometimes you have to skip ahead, break your own rules, and dive into infinite riches without reading songs of enchantment. And you know what? Sometimes that leads to the most interesting literary adventures. Today, we're talking about Ben Okri's mind-bending conclusion to his trilogy that started with The Famished Road, a book that doesn't just tell a story, it rewrites reality itself. All right, let me set the scene for you. We're back with Azaro. Remember him? He's our abiku child protagonist, which basically means he's got 1 foot in our world and 1 foot in the spirit realm. Think of him as the ultimate spiritual multitasker. Now, if you thought your family had problems, wait until you meet Azaro's family. His dad, Black Tiger, and yes, that's actually his name because Okri doesn't do subtle character naming, gets arrested for a murder he didn't commit. I mean, the guy's already got Tiger in his name, so you know the authorities are going to assume the worst, right?
Correctamundo!
But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of hiring a lawyer or starting a GoFundMe, Azaro's mom decides to take matters into her own hands. She rounds up 7 other women, because apparently 8 is the magic number for prison breaks in this universe. And they literally march from police station to police station, releasing prisoners as they go.
Come again?
Let me repeat that. These 8 women are basically conducting their own prison reform movement, 1 police station at a time. They're like the Avengers, but instead of fighting aliens, they're fighting systematic injustice with pure maternal fury. Now, while this family drama is unfolding, there's this whole political circus happening in the background. We've got the party of the rich versus the party of the poor, fighting over who gets to run things once the colonial overlords pack up their stuff and leave. And let me tell you, these political parties are about as subtle as their names suggest. It's like if someone today started a party called the Party of People Who Really Like Money versus the Party of People Who Don't Have Much Money but would like some, please.
I'm not a moron, you know.
But here's where Okri's genius really shines through. He's not just telling us about corrupt politicians. We've got plenty of those in real life, thank you very much. He's showing us how this corruption started at the very moment of independence. It's like he's saying, hey, remember when we thought getting rid of the colonizers would solve everything? Plot twist, it didn't. The corruption, the thuggery, the manipulation, it all begins right here, at what should be Africa's moment of triumph. Okri writes that it was like that part of the umbilical cord that remained in the belly of the continent, whose decay had sprung forth foul, greed-laden, and ignominious leaders. I mean, that's some heavy metaphorical language right there. He's basically saying independence came with a birth defect. But wait, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Remember those 8 badass women who are out there liberating prisoners and fighting the system? Well, they're about to get schooled in the art of political manipulation. So these women are out there, ready to march, ready to fight, ready to bleed if necessary. And then, a group of educated women shows up. These ladies take one look at the whole marching and possibly getting beaten up situation and go, oh, no, this is all wrong. What you need is an organized demonstration, something sanitized. Now, Azaro's mom and her crew basically tell them, thanks, but we didn't ask for your input, and they go ahead with their plan. They succeed. They find Black Tiger, they get him released, they're heroes. But here's the kicker. The educated women who didn't want to get their hands dirty, they somehow end up getting all the credit in the newspapers. They literally appropriated someone else's struggle and made it about themselves.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Okri is showing us how this became the new class system across Africa. The people who fought for independence weren't necessarily the ones who ended up in power. Sound familiar? Yeah, it should. Now, while all this political drama is happening, the colonizers aren't just sitting around waiting for their going-away party. Oh no, they're busy doing what colonizers do best, systematic destruction. They're destroying documents, rewriting history, stealing knowledge, and, here's the big one, they decide to destroy a sacred forest to build a road. Because apparently, even on their way out, they can't resist one final middle finger to local traditions. Now, Okri doesn't just tell us about this destruction, he gives us this absolutely haunting passage about the Governor General's dreams. The guy literally dreams about stealing everything.
Deep in his happy sleep, the Governor General dreamt of taking the golden stool of the Ashanti king, the thinking masks of Bamako, the storytelling rocks of Zimbabwe, the symphonic Victoria Falls.
And it goes on, he dreams of taking
Africa's timber-like men, their pomegranate women, their fertile sculpture, their plaintive songs, their spirit worlds.
This guy's basically dreaming about the ultimate cultural heist. But then Okri hits us with this line.
He did not dream of the hunger he would leave behind.
That's the whole Colonial project in one sentence, folks. Take everything valuable, leave everything broken. And here's where Okri gets really clever with his literary references. Remember Conrad's Heart of Darkness and Huxley's Brave New World? Well, Okri flips the script. In the Governor General's dream, there's a sign that reads Heart of World at the beginning of the road and Brave New Darkness at the end. He's literally reversing the colonial narrative. Africa isn't the dark continent. It's the heart of the world. And what the colonizers are creating isn't a brave new world. It's a brave new darkness. And this is the book that contains all of this incredible storytelling, Infinite Riches by Ben Okri, the final volume in his trilogy that began with The Famished Road. Published in 1998, this is 394 pages of pure literary magic realism that will make your head spin and your heart ache in equal measure. Now, let's talk about what makes this book special and what makes it challenging. First off, Okri's style is absolutely boundless. He's mixing African magical realism with science fiction, with political commentary, with spiritual allegory. Azaro doesn't just see into the spirit world. He's making references to Einstein's space-time theory and the development of the atomic bomb. We're talking about parallel universes, quantum physics, and ancient African wisdom all in the same narrative breath. For an African context, this isn't as jarring as it might sound to Western readers. African storytelling traditions have always embraced what we might call magical realism, the idea that the spiritual and material worlds exist simultaneously and interact constantly. But let's talk about the women in this story, because they're absolutely phenomenal. Azaro's mother is basically a one-woman resistance movement. Those 7 women who join her, they're rewriting the rules of civil disobedience. And even Madame Koto, who everyone thinks is a witch, turns out to be maintaining the spiritual balance of the entire community. When she dies, healing herbs literally grow on her body. I mean, talk about leaving a positive impact on the world. Then you've got the old woman in the forest who's basically the keeper of all African knowledge and wisdom. She's like a living library, coding information for future generations. But here's the thing. Her home in the forest is under threat from development. This connects to one of Okri's major themes, the destruction of traditional knowledge systems. Roads might represent progress to some people, but in African context, they often represent extraction, ways to remove resources, people, and knowledge from communities and send them elsewhere. Now, I have to be honest with you, this book was a challenge for me. I enjoyed The Famished Road much more, and I think a big part of that is because I jumped into the middle of a conversation. Okri creates these incredibly complex, interwoven narratives where one fantastic scene flows into another, and without the context of Book 2, I sometimes felt like I was trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. There were moments where I couldn't quite isolate what was actually happening versus what was spiritual allegory versus what was political commentary. It's the kind of book that demands you read the entire trilogy in order to fully appreciate its complexity. That said, there were passages that absolutely blew me away. Okri's understanding of the world, his imagination, his ability to make connections between seemingly disparate ideas. It's genuinely impressive. Even when I was confused, I was never bored. I also felt like there was a bit of a rush toward the end, like maybe Okri was trying to tie up too many threads at once. But that might also be intentional. Sometimes endings feel rushed because life doesn't wrap up neatly. Ben Okri himself is a fascinating figure. Born in Nigeria, he's been writing since the 1980s and won the Booker Prize for The Famished Road in 1991, making him one of the youngest winners ever at that time. What I find interesting about Okri is that he's never been content to write just one type of story. He moves between genres, between realism and fantasy, between contemporary politics and ancient mythology. He's constantly pushing boundaries. This trilogy, in particular, shows his commitment to telling African stories on African terms. He's not writing for a Western audience trying to understand Africa. He's writing from within African worldviews and inviting everyone else to expand their understanding. So, would I recommend Infinite Riches? Absolutely, but with a caveat. Don't do what I did, don't skip book 2. This is clearly meant to be read as a complete trilogy, and you're going to miss so much richness if you jump around. But if you're looking for literature that challenges you, that refuses to be categorized, that takes on colonialism, politics, spirituality, and family drama all at once, while somehow maintaining a sense of hope and wonder, this is your book. Just maybe read them in order. Learn from my mistakes, people. What do you think? Have you read Ben Okri? Are you brave enough to tackle magical realism that's also political commentary, that's also family drama? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more literary adventures that involve me making questionable reading choices. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.